All right. Welcome to Killing Me Smalls podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest, guys. The one, the only, the big guys, what I like to call him,
Hey,
Devon Holland, man. Welcome, baby.
hey, what's
Glad I
going
can have you
on?
on today, man.
Absolutely, me
Thank you for
too.
coming through, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Man, as busy as this man is, I'm surprised he was able to even take time out his schedule to even get here. But he made
Uh,
time for little old Smalls, man. So I appreciate that. He got a whole business that he run that we're gonna talk about, whole family that he take care of, man. Yeah, he still made time to be here. So I genuinely appreciate you, big guy.
hey, man, I appreciate being here. Yeah, man, this is what we do. We take care of each other, man. That's what it's all about.
That's what I want to
That's
talk
what it's
about
all
today,
about.
too, man. You take care of everybody.
I try. I
Take
try.
care of everybody. But I want people to understand who you are. Now, Big Guy owns gym, Active Fitness in Huntersville, which you're gonna hear us talk about a lot today. But before we even get to how he got there, we want to talk about who he is as a person. Like a lot of things that you're gonna figure out. One thing that I'm just gonna say, for as jacked as this man is, he's a vegetarian.
That's right.
Right?
Veggie
Right?
strong, baby.
Vegetarian got guns like that, got lats like that, like it's insane. We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of different things. But I just want to say, like, speak to who you are as a person. How would you describe yourself, big guy?
I think the best way to describe myself is my upbringing, right? I'm
Mm.
from Detroit. You hear me say that all the time. And Detroit has defined me in many different ways, right?
Okay.
Growing up, it's all about the grind, it's all about getting ahead.
Mm.
And, Detroit has that kind of grit to it that everybody knows about. And I kind of live within that, I'm
Mm.
kind of the epitome of the grit and the
I
grind.
agree with that.
And actually, when I was in high school, my nickname was Detroit. They used to
Really?
call me Detroit. That's
While you was living in
right.
Detroit, they called you Detroit.
No, when I moved out of Detroit,
Oh, okay,
they
bet.
called me Detroit.
Okay.
And you know, I I grew up there, moved away after high school,
Okay.
and it was tough, and you learn a lot about yourself. I was not a tough guy, starting off. I was just, I got bullied, and it wasn't a great time, but it taught me how to toughen up,
Okay. Yeah.
I got an older brother, Antoine. Shout out to my boy Antoine.
There you
Love
go,
him.
Antoine.
But Detroit really taught me a lot because it helped me really learn how to grind and how to grow.
Mm.
If you don't have that pressure, um, you can't grow. And Detroit was one of those catalysts that really helped me develop that mindset
Mm.
of grinding it out and growing constantly
Okay.
and constantly putting pressure on yourself in order to get ahead. So I guess I define myself in that way,
Okay.
but you know, when it comes down to it, it's a lot more to my personality and myself than that. I'm
Yeah.
a man of faith. Actually, we just came back from church, so
Mm.
we got here. But i- that's one of the things that defines me as well
Okay.
is my faith. Without God, I wouldn't be who I am 100%. I gave my life to Christ when I was 16 years old, struggling, lost, confused, and just really wanted to be happy. I was an angry kid. You grow up in the city, you're fighting all the time, you're around drug dealers and thieves, and it gets to you.
Right.
And I didn't want to be that. So my grandmother, she was an avid churchgoer, and so I would go, and I gave my life to Christ. We cleaned the church, and one day there was a youth group. So we cleaned the church, and afterward I went into the youth group, gave my life to Christ. Man, it was the best day of my life
Mm.
because I could feel the weight. I mean, you 16. What do you mean weight? But it was like literally the weight of, I guess I would say, depression at the time, just
Mm.
depression and fear. I
Mm.
was just in fear because I didn't know where my life was going.
Mm.
I didn't know how I would become the man that I was supposed to be.
Okay.
Um, And that was a huge turning point in my life, you know. Um, After that, we um, moved to the suburbs, which was crazy because when you come from Detroit, all black schools, gangs, fighting, you don't learn anything in school. You know, it was I was so behind. And that's what I was saying earlier,
I got you.
like 20 years wasted because it took me 20 years to like figure out who I was and what I wanted to do.
Mm,
Because, up until 14, 15, like most 14, 15-year-olds, I was lost. But not only that, I was illiterate. I
mm,
couldn't even read.
right.
It's crazy, you know? And so it really took a lot of time for me to work on myself
Okay.
in order to get ahead. But that first step was giving my life to Christ, where I started reading the Bible and started to learn about faith, which transformed my mind. As
Mm,
it says in the word, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's exactly what happened to me. It renewed my mind because I started to read, I started to learn, not just the Bible, but reading other books, completely transformed me. And I think, living in the city, everybody kind of wants you to be like them.
mm,
It's just one of those things when the black culture, we have a tendency of trying to have people stay like us, right? Brothers and sisters. Like, oh, don't be different. Why you weird? Why you talk like that? And I didn't like that. I was like, I just want to be me,
right.
And so it was interesting moving to the suburbs, how nobody cared.
Right.
They didn't care who I was, so and they were terrified of me. That's the other crazy thing. I was working out at 13 years old.
Yeah.
So by 16, 17, I was in great shape. I
Right.
mean, I was jacked
Yeah.
for 16.
Started early.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 5'11". And it was just strange, like the dichotomy, like the two different worlds, going from an all black school to an all white school, and how people treated me. I mean, they were so nice. People
Mm,
were just so kind to me, and they brought me into their homes and introduced me to their families and their racist uncles. But it was all good though. Like, they weren't disrespectful. It was just like, this is who they are.
right.
And they accepted me as I was, which was kind of like mind blowing because I didn't expect it. It
Mm,
gave me an opportunity to just be myself.
right.
I didn't have to be hard, which was nice, because it allowed me to develop my character, and it allowed me to think beyond who I was expected to be,
Right.
as a black man. And so I
That
just
part.
took that, and like most teenagers, you are trying to mold yourself and uh create your own personality and your own character. And that's what I did, and it took some time, but one of the things that I think is most important about myself is that faith factor,
Yeah.
because it played a role all the way through,
Mm,
up until today. Um and the suburbs is wild, bro.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if you grew up in the suburbs, but um, it's weird. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
We out there riding four wheelers and shooting bow and arrows.
That's dope.
Like, it was so fun, but
That's
it was
dope.
like completely different. Like in
Yeah.
Detroit, we shooting Glocks and shotguns. And out here, we shooting rifles and bow and arrows.
Yeah. Yeah. The
It's
good
like
old times.
it's
Not
like
getting shot at.
yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, I lived a lot of life at a very young age.
Mm,
That's why my wife called me an old man, because I've experienced so much in such a short amount of time. Um, and it just comes down to, Detroit, just
right.
grind it out, push, keep
Mm,
grinding. But there's a lot. My story is so long. I don't think we got enough time in this podcast to talk about the whole thing. But I think those are some critical pieces that help people understand the kind of person that I am.
okay.
And I've got a new mission now. I've got new purpose.
Hmm.
Got married 2 years ago,
Congrats on that.
and yeah, can put my wife over here
Yeah,
and
Miss Rain.
changed my life. I was growing up in Detroit. Getting married is not a, you know,
Mm,
why are you doing that?
really?
It's a player lifestyle. Yeah, um,
Type different.
it is. It's a strange thing because now I honor marriage. It's so important. There's so
Mhm.
much value to it, to keep you straightened out, keep your mind on the right things,
Right,
and there's no more hunting. Right, you don't have to hunt, and that's good. You're hunting for something else.
right.
Something more important. And so I think that is a huge shift for me.
Okay.
Over these last probably 5 6 years or so, on the relationship front, that really changed everything. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's a little bit.
Yeah, no, I take it, and we gonna get into some other things too, and I appreciate it. First of all, I hope you guys see the humility that this big man brings over here, man. Like he gives everyone else so much credit, and again, like you mentioned, his wife is sitting over here, and she's watching the checks and balances and watching how much he appreciates her and what she does for him. It's just evident in their interaction. So I'm hoping that one day you guys stop by Active, you get a chance to actually witness what I get a chance to witness on a daily basis. But big guy, I know what I genuinely appreciate about you, and one of the things you did mention that is scripturally based, it says in the scriptures, happy are those conscious of their spiritual need. So
Mhm.
you feel like you found that and that helped to motivate you and keep you pushing throughout life. You got grounded with a wonderful woman and your wife, Miss Reen. You have a family that you take care of, that you talk about on a regular basis, that you look to be that protector, that advisor, that father, that husband for that genuine man that you are. But I got a question. I'm curious. I can't wait to ask this. Um, One of the things that I was looking up on is basically how one perceives themselves. And I know
Mhm.
how I perceive you, Miss Reen. Everybody has their own way of perceiving another individual, right? But if you were to name three characteristics,
Mhm.
like three things that your closest friends and your wife would say about you, about who you are as a man, what would those three things be?
That's a good question.
Say, man.
That's a good
I'm
question.
just trying to do to you what you do for us,
Nah,
but if
that's
you
a
having a
good
stick.
question. Three words that would
Mm,
define me. Discipline is definitely one of them.
okay.
I pride myself on the discipline that I have and have had for many, many years. Hard work, I would say. I work my tail off daily.
Yes. Yes.
And the last one would be man of God.
Mm,
You know, I think moreover in my private life, those who are in my private circle, they
mhm.
know, I take my faith seriously and I'm constantly working my way in the direction of a righteous man. It doesn't all
Mm,
happen at once.
mhm.
Um, so I would say those three words would be the ones that I would go with.
Okay. No,
Now,
I
how
rock
would
with
you
that.
define me? Because
Oh,
because it's one thing to define myself, but it's another thing for someone else.
let's okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give one,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna have Ms. Reen throw out one. So I want you to
Okay.
start thinking, Ms. Reen, about what of yours is gonna be. And we can talk about it. Hopefully, I'm
Yeah.
not starting no trouble for you later. But nah, the best word I use to describe you, selfless.
Mm.
Selfless. All those other things are wonderful, and having faith in the creator Jehovah God to me is paramount, right? It starts there. We go even deeper and we talk about the other things, the discipline, the hard work. All those things are based in the scriptures, right? But we talk about encapsulating your energy, your
Mm.
aura, as Miss Reen mentioned earlier. You don't live life for you, bro.
Well, I'm not here for me. I'm just not.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
evident.
I used to say this all the time. I just showed up here, right? Like I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here on earth and I
Yeah.
got some work to do. And I used to be very arrogant and selfish, but then I realized that's not really a good way to live, and it doesn't honor God.
Mm,
And so I started realizing that, I heard this from what's his name? Steve Harvey. He told a story about being with a buddy, and they went to I think his grandmother was in the hospital.
Mm.
And his grandmother asked her grandson, which is Steve Harvey's friend, "Do you know why you don't know your grandfather?" And he said, "No." She said, "Because he never left you anything." And I thought about that. I'm like, that's so interesting. How often do we think about our grandchildren or our great grandchildren while we pursue life
Mm.
and the things that we choose to accomplish
Mm.
and the legacy we choose to leave?
Yeah.
And so when I heard that, it really changed my perspective on the man I should be. It's not about me. It's about being an example for others. It's about providing for others. Because if it was for me, it's too easy to go do it all for yourself,
Right.
you know? But, I like to do what's hard. I like to do the hard thing, you know?
Yep.
And that's why I have two stepkids because it's hard. And they need that. They need that male influence. They need that role model,
Mhm.
And I was that kid, you know. My mother was a single mother, four kids at 22 years old, and no good examples around. And I realized that, you know, what's the point of living for yourself
Right.
when you can live for everybody else and transform lives?
Love
When you
that.
start to see the people later in your life that you've touched and you've impacted,
Right.
it gives you so much joy because you're like, wow, who would have thought that I could, help this person or transform their life because of something that I said or did? And it's a gift, man. It's a blessing. And I just want to do that as much and as long as I can because God's given me the strength to do it.
Mm.
So what else should I do?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And I love life, you
Mm.
know. I love life, but as much as I love life, I love the opportunity to benefit others.
Right.
As a man, we all desire to be appreciated.
Mhm.
But the only way to truly be appreciated is to serve others, right? That's like if you really want to be
Good point.
appreciated, serving others and giving back and making a difference in other people's lives, it gives them a reason to appreciate you.
Right.
And I think that's so important. And I grew up wanting to be the example. I got a prayer that I always say, God, use me. Use me to be the difference. Like, make me the man that you want people to see that says, oh, young kids can say, I want to be like that guy,
Right.
being an example.
Mhm.
Because I didn't have one, right, growing up. I looked up to Jesus. I was like, I want to be like him, man. He's nice, but he's kind of wild. He's flipping tables at church. you know,
That was
what I mean?
justified too.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
justified. That
yeah.
was the only time. That was the
So I
only
was like,
opportunity you did. Yeah. Mhm.
that's
That
right.
was justified. Yep.
So it's one of those things where if I can give back and make a difference in somebody's life, that's what I want to do. Because it gives me the most joy
Right.
and the most peace.
I think I picked a good word then.
Yeah,
I think I
yeah,
picked a
yeah,
good
yeah.
word. And that's just indicating your actions, big guy. Like every day interacting with you, watching how you interact with others, watching your conversations with your family, with your wife, dude. If anybody pay a little bit of attention, they figure out that you about other people and you love other people and you put yourself on the back burner all the time, bro. And it's you still clearly take care of himself, right? But I'm saying outside of that, just in general, man, you live life for those that you love, man. And it's a reminder to me every day on who I want to continue to cultivate myself to be. So I don't know if you realize how much I genuinely appreciate you and the impact you had on me, but I'm very thankful that you're in my life,
Hey,
big
look,
guy.
I
Real talk,
appreciate it, my
real
man.
talk, big guy
I
for real.
appreciate it.
But Ms. Reen, you think of a word?
She was trying to stay out
You
of
think
this
of a word? Nah, there's
conversation,
no way.
but
I'm gonna bring
we're
her,
gonna
then we
have to
gonna talk
wheel
about it.
her
Yeah,
in,
nah,
wheel
you
her
wouldn't get out of that.
in.
Summarized it.
Okay.
She's like, I don't want no part.
Ah, was that the word
That
though?
was the word.
Oh, it was some. Oh, snap. I feel like
Don't
this
believe
is y'all taking it
it.
back. He said, "I can't believe this." He said, "He scapegoated Smalls on this one today."
Right,
No,
right.
that's fair. No, I appreciate that. I really
That's
feel
fair.
good now. If your significant other
Yeah,
says it was of
no,
that
look,
nature, I feel good. I feel like I've been paying attention to my guy over here.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this then. With all the things you've been through in life, with the character that you've established for yourself and those things, how did you end up cultivating this career path? How are
That's a
you
good
here?
question, man. I've been working out since I was 12 years old, right?
Mm,
And I started working out because I didn't want to get bullied no more, right? And it's so funny how I came up with it. Uh, I used to love wrestling,
mm.
WWE wrestling, SmackDown. And I'm like, these guys don't get bullied. Like, yeah, that's me, at 11, 12 years old thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get huge.
Right.
And that's the key to not get bullied. But I started working out and it worked. People stopped messing with me. It's true. But when I graduated high school and I tried to go play college football,
Mhm.
and I would run 4 miles a day to the gym, run home, eat, just like prepping, right?
Mm,
And I said, if I don't make it into football, I got to figure out something else,
mm,
right? And I didn't. I didn't make it, even with the hard work that I put in. But I truly don't believe that I gave it my all, even with all that hard work. And I
mm,
think most of it was just a lack of knowledge. And so I got into my career path. I went into modeling. I did that for a few years. I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. And then I got into heating and cooling.
okay.
And when I got into heating and cooling, I was putting myself through college just before that, and I went into architectural design. Wasn't that fun, so I switched it to graphic design. That was cool. I learned a lot there, but I still couldn't see myself just doing that.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, let me just go into business. Like, I'm gonna go into business, and then I'll just like do that.
mm,
But in business school, I didn't learn about business.
mm.
It was all about you know, it was all about paperwork and, legal stuff. And I hate school. I just couldn't stand sitting there learning from people who've never built anything. It just didn't make sense to me. And so I asked my professor, I said, are we going to have any entrepreneurs come in
Mm.
to talk about business? And they're like, no, it's your senior year. Mind you, this is my second year in college. I'm like, see, that's 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't have 2 years to waste listening to you who's never built anything. You know what I mean? And I come from a entrepreneur background. So my grandmother owned a cleaning company. My mother owned a cleaning company. I worked with
Mm.
them since I was 12, 13 years old. And so I dropped out of college and I got into heating and cooling. I worked for this small heating and cooling company, and we cleaned out air ducts and did small repairs. And it was two young guys, 34, 35 years old, Mike and Steve. And it was great, man, working for those guys, because one of the things that they did was in a meeting, they were like, we don't know everything. And if you guys have any ideas, and I think I told you this story, but for the audience, we don't have all the ideas. If you guys have anything, just let us know.
Yeah.
We would love to get your ideas and figure out how we can make the business better. So I went home that day, pulled out my laptop and wrote a 13-page proposal for the business, looked at every part of the business that I could understand, and just wrote a couple paragraphs about how we can make it better,
Mm.
just based on my experience. And I took it to them. A couple weeks later, we sat down and talked about it. And they had me implement every aspect of that proposal. And I was shocked that they did that, and it gave me a ton of experience, right? I didn't know I was gonna get into fitness, honestly.
Mm.
I just wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
That was my biggest thing was I wanna be an entrepreneur. I wanna be a serial entrepreneur. I wanna own multiple businesses.
Mm.
Why? Because it gives me the best opportunity to serve others. I can employ people and make sure that they have a good employer. I can create great atmospheres, great work experience, and utilize my talents and understanding in order to benefit people at a greater scale.
Right.
It's one thing to talk to somebody and give them some good words of advice. It's another thing to help somebody provide for themselves and their family.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole nother thing,
That's a
right?
good point.
And so when when I finished that job, I left there and I quit and I went to I was like, I'm gonna get my personal training certification because some of the guys there I was working out with, I would
Mhm.
train them. They were getting in shape. Even
Yeah.
the boss was like, "Man, you guys are getting in shape. Like
Yeah.
this is good.
Yeah.
You know, more productive. We got a lot more done in the same amount of time." And so, they encouraged me. They're like, "Dude, you could do that." And I'm like, I mean, only trainers is celebrity trainers. Like that's all I knew. I didn't know everyday people could hire a trainer.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that. And so I looked up on Google. I was like, how much does like the wealthiest personal trainer make? It was like $4 million. I was like, bet. I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Right. So I was studying when I dropped out of college, I started studying psychology.
Mm.
And that helped me a lot through learning business and learning how people think, and that played a role into me getting my personal training certification
Okay.
because I needed to know how people thought about themselves and things around them and why they do certain things in order to sell them on the training, right? To help them get results. And and so I I quit my job. I got I spent 3 months, it was a 6 months course, and I only had like 10 or 12 grand saved up. And I was living in a trailer at a time that I remodeled.
Wow.
Trailer was dope.
Yo.
Trailer was dope.
Where you got pics?
I think I have
I
a
want to see
few.
this
I
one
think I have
day.
a few.
I want to see this
But
one
I
day.
gave it to my sister when I moved here.
That's dope.
So I worked, I spent 3 months working on that certification and because I was running out of money. So I was like, I need to like get this fast.
Right.
And 2 weeks before I took my final test, the owner at the Anytime Fitness that I was working at called me up and was like, "Hey, I know you're still getting your certification. If you want, a job, you can come in today." So I went in. I was like, "Bet, I need this."
Yeah.
And one of the other guys was leaving, so I took some of his clients,
Okay.
and it was history from there, man. I picked up 22 clients in 2 months. I was grinding. I had to. I was broke. I spent all my money, so I had to do something.
Mm.
And again, going back to Detroit, I was grinding. I was like,
Right.
"Look, I gotta
That
get to
mindset.
it."
Yeah.
But during that time, the craziest thing happened during that time where I wasn't working. So I started studying Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza is an author, and I think he was a chiropractor or like a physical therapist or something like that, right?
Okay.
And he wrote this book called I can't remember his first one. I think it was How to Break Your Mindset or something like that. But it talked about meditation, right?
Okay.
It taught meditation in there. So I practiced meditation at the time. The craziest thing happened. That's why I'm here.
Mm.
This is how I got to North Carolina through prayers and this meditation.
Mm.
I was sitting there one day meditating, and this was like the first meditation experience that was just like out of this world. Sitting there, it's midday, and I get into this deep meditation. I mean, I can feel my energy like 10 feet out. It's just like pulsating, crazy because it was so incredible because I'm like, wow, this is real. Like I was shocked,
Mm.
but I'm kind of in this state where I'm just consciousness, right? And I
Mm.
can just feel my energy. And then it goes into this visualization. So I visualize myself. I'm on the second story. I'm looking down. There's a pool with a blue light. It's kind of like the sun's not set, it's rising. And I can see, the colors from the sun, over the clouds. And I'm just like in this kind of joyful state
Yeah.
while I'm visualizing. And it was clear as day, right? Clear as me looking at you right now. And so I got out of that meditation and I was just like, wow, this is dark now. It's 9 o'clock. And it was just shocking because 2 years later, no, not even, I'm sorry, that's way too long. Like, okay, I started personal training not long after that. And then a guy, probably 3 or 4 months into me training at the gym, came and his trainer came in and asked if somebody can train him while he's in town because he's not going to be able to.
Okay.
This guy comes in, Gordy, he's a mentor of mine, and he's very eccentric, funny, kind of goofy, but it was a good time working with him. I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
After it was 5 days. After that 5 days, he took me to lunch and he's like, I want to hire you to train me in North Carolina. You can live with me. It'll be 4 days a week. He ran it down. He's like, I can fly you down today. I was like, today? I'm like, you got to give me like a week or two, right? It was Memorial Day weekend.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is crazy. But I'm like, what, 23 years old, 23, 24. And I was just ready. I was praying to God that me and my brother, we were going to move to California. I was going to pursue acting,
Mm.
but I hated California. And I've never even been there. Just the whole mentality, in the acting, it, everybody just seems fake, and I just didn't fit that.
Right.
I just didn't fit it. So I prayed to God. My brother said he couldn't go to California. I was like, that's fine. Like, I got to figure something else out because I got to get away from home
Yeah.
because this is going to kill me. and this all is going to tie together. So I prayed that God would move me away, and there was 5 things during that meditation that I asked for. And I said, this is how I will know it's you, right? And the thing I love about God is if you ask for something ridiculous, he'll give it to you,
Mm.
right? And just so you know it's from him,
Mm.
right? Right? And so I asked to be doing what I was doing, and all I was doing was working out, training, or going to be starting to train, and working on my house, right? That was it, really. And I had a ton of free time. And I said, I want to be doing similar to what I'm doing now. I said, I want a personal vehicle, so a company vehicle that I can drive. I want to be somewhere warm, and I want to be. This was the most ridiculous thing. I said, I want to be living the dream, living the mansion.
Mm.
Ridiculous, right? I'm broke, living in a trailer, and this is what I'm asking God for, right? I started training. I worked with that guy. He flew me down 2 weeks later. Mansion,
Mm.
right? 10,000 square feet.
Mm.
I get there at night. So I go to bed. I'm in the second floor, and he has like 2 wings. So like one side is like upstairs is like his whole bedroom and stuff. And then on the other side, there's 2 bedrooms and a like a theater room where he has all of his guitars and stuff. But I'm in one of the bedrooms that overlook the pool. I
Mm.
wake up in the morning, I go outside on the balcony, and I look down, the pool is blue. It got the blue light in there.
That's crazy.
And the sun is rising. 'Cause it's
Mm.
like, 5, almost 6 in the morning. And I look, just mind you, this is like a couple months later. And I just started crying, dude. I just couldn't help myself because it was like deja vu. Like, you ever have deja vu and you're like, "Oh, this is weird. I feel like I've been here before. Like,
Yeah.
I've been in here, like this moment."
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like, but it was way more surreal because it was like, I remember having this meditation, and I was just blown away. It changed my whole paradigm
Mm.
because I'm like, how in the world is this life? Like, this is crazy.
Right.
I told him, I'm like, yeah, let's do this immediately. 2 weeks later, or just a few weeks later, I moved down, and the rest was history. But I still didn't know I was gonna own a gym. The previous trainer that he had, he bought the guy a gym. He paid him back, but he invested in his gym in Michigan. The guy was dating someone, they were getting married, so he had to, he ended up moving back. She was pregnant, so
Got you.
He wanted to have his kid back home. So that's when he picked me up.
Got you.
And it's just crazy how that all unfolded because I had a company vehicle. He let me drive. And I lived in a mansion and I was working 4 days a week training him and like taking care of his dog sometime. And when I met Reen, was like probably a couple months after I moved down. And not long before I met her, I prayed for her too. And I asked for some specific things, and
Yeah, I
she
remember
got
that.
them. She had those things, and one of them is ridiculous. One of them is ridiculous. Her beauty. You know,
Ooh, y'all see how smooth he is, boy? Y'all see
that
how
wasn't one of them, but yeah,
nah.
that was a bonus. No, but
I remember the one you told me that story.
yeah,
That was a good
yeah,
one.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
You got to ask God for ridiculous things, and He never fails. But um, the reason I got into I got into the gym industry because I I realized that all the other businesses that I tried failed.
Mm,
Right, I opened a vape shop, bust. It was
mm.
Reen down. We got pictures. She was showing me her vaping. We don't vape, right? But she up in there representing, holding it down. That's how you know you got a real one. She in there vaping, in my vape
Whatever Bay
shop.
doing,
She like,
she's
whatever you
supporting.
doing, I'm
She's
with you.
supporting.
And that's just dope. So the vape shop was a bust. I did me and my buddy Steve handball. We started Aqua Fun. And so I moved down to Florida for like 2 months.
Okay.
And it's flyboarding. So you're on this board, you got a jet ski you got this like 30-foot fireman's hose is pumping water through the jet ski into the boots. So you're
That's
flying
crazy.
around, you can fly 30 feet in the air. So I was the instructor getting people to sign up and I would take them out for 20 minutes, to get them to fly. We built this thing called the Magic Carpet Ride. It's one of those kind of water mats, and we souped it up so that we can pull it with the jet ski. We had like little ropes on there so people can hold on. It was dope. I think that could have been an incredible business,
Okay.
but it was all fun. We brought it back. We did it for a few months, but it didn't quite work, right?
Okay.
Because Steve had to move. He moved to Tennessee, but
Mm,
he bought all the equipment. So I was like, what am I gonna do now?
right.
And I didn't want to go back to bartending and trying to sell vapes. It just wasn't happening.
Right.
It was just too toxic of an environment. So then I was trying to do online personal training. Bust. Spent a ton of money, hired a coach, guy scammed me, and then I realized like you got to believe in yourself. I'm trying to hire this guy to make it easy for me. You know, it was just a bad move, um, and so I was like, man, I got to do something because money was getting low.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, went to a little party next door to my house, and this is after I stayed with Gordy. So I stayed with him. I had a contract with him for 18 months.
Okay.
Then I moved to Vermilion, stayed with a buddy there, and it was three of us. But one of my neighbors, she had a party, and at the end of the party, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. We're all hanging out, and they're like, "Oh, you do personal training?" I'm like, "Yeah, They're like, "Oh, we should do some training tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock here." I was like, "All right."
You
So
gonna
that's
be
when I
there.
started doing, yeah,
You gonna
right.
be there.
That
Yeah.
next morning, knocked on the door, like, let's do this. And I had a couple pieces of equipment at the house, so I started doing in-home training,
Mm.
and I picked up pretty much half the street, and I just got after it, and that worked out for a little bit, and I did a little bit of traveling for in-home training, but I realized as Huntersville started getting busier, the traffic was just getting too thick, so it was becoming too costly. I have to charge somebody essentially 2 sessions,
Mm-hmm.
2 hours slot in order to make it feasible.
Right.
And it just didn't work. I mean, and then my car got repoed. I mean, I was down bad,
You going through it.
and Reem was with me the whole time. But that's one of the things I asked for. I said, I need somebody that's gonna be down with me when I'm at the top and when I'm at the bottom. So be careful what you ask for out there.
That part. That part.
Yeah. But then so I did that, and Reen even tried to buy me a gym. I'm like, you crazy. You crazy. Nobody knows this. Nobody heard this story, but we were dating.
Get exclusive
She
content.
tried to get me a gym, and I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for a gym. I don't know enough. That set me up for failure. you know.
Mm,
But then I told her, I said, I'm gonna work at Anytime Fitness, the one in Huntersville. What's crazy is the owner of that gym is so similar to the owner of the Anytime Fitness, the guy hired me when I first started. I
oh,
mean,
got
both
you.
the same size. It's crazy. The one in Huntersville, he wasn't that smart, but no offense, but
Nah, I
uh,
got you. I got you, big
but
guy.
I told Reen, I said I'm going to work here for a year and then I'm going to open up a studio.
Yeah.
And I saw some gaps in the market, and so I was like, I need a gym. I told her, I said I'm gonna work here for a year and get my own studio. I got the studio. I told her after that, I said, I'm gonna run a studio for 5 years and I'm gonna put together a plan and I'm gonna get a gym. And 5 years to the day, actually 1 year to the day or to the week where I was working at Anytime, that week that I started, that next year, I was in the studio.
Mm,
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
insane.
From that, when I got my new studio, not the first one because I was there for 8 months, and then I got another one in October. 5 years to the day, like the same week, like October 1st is when I signed my contract for the the second studio that I own, and then October 1st, 2024, I bought Active Fitness. God is good, bro. I'm telling you, you like,
Insane.
it's just wild, man. Like my life, it's just crazy how everything unfolded. And that's why I said my faith is just it's one of the most important aspects of my life because like God's been so good and on time every time. And that's why I say at the gym, I'm like, bro, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
It's coming. We better get ready because he is moving.
Dude, I love that you walked us through this, and this is really what I wanted, man. Y'all to understand that, especially if you're aspiring to do something big, it don't always happen in one fell swoop. You hear the years, years,
Yeah.
years of discipline, of hard work, meeting people, things not working out, things working out, different paths, different things you've dreamt of, felt, make happen. You're like, okay, this is the route. Oh, well, maybe this is setting me up to finally accomplish what I genuinely want to accomplish. Like,
That's right.
really take a picture, a long, hard look at what this man went through in order to get what he wanted. Sometimes that's what it takes. You just gotta be willing to put in the work, gotta be willing to put in the time, sacrifice, and understand that when things are presented to you, you gotta be willing to seize those opportunities just like you did.
That's
The
exactly right.
the wife, right? The family, the business opportunity, all those things that he was able to grab a hold of and then manifest and make into something because of your hard work. I want people to see that. I want them to hear that.
I appreciate that,
Of
man.
course.
And I think it's just so important that, a lot of times when we are on our journeys, we get discouraged,
Mhm.
but we also get distracted,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that I think is probably the most pervasive is how distracted we get sometimes.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm an advocate for marriage because I'm like, I can't get distracted because she is going to call me out
Yeah.
right? And keep me accountable.
100%. Miss Reno, play
And for
that.
you fellas that don't like your wife keeping you accountable, you gotta be okay with it because it's only for the
Talk
better.
to him.
And I think
Talk
it's
to him.
you have more responsibility on your plate,
Yeah.
so you've got to take that seriously. And I think
Mm.
since we've been together, it's been 10 years now, and my life has only been better. But I had to because I'm like, if I want to keep this one, I got to be right. I got to do the right thing, and I got to work my tail off.
You viewed it like you had to. Not everybody does that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah.
viewed it like I had to
Mhm.
because God gave me what I wanted. So it's like I'm not going to mess up what God gave me Like,
Mm,
I don't wanna have that kinda thing on my heart, you
mhm,
know? Like, God gave you something good and you played with it. It's
mm.
like, no, take responsibility, do what you need to do, you know? And, it was tough, but there was so much growth. It's like, it just makes sense. Um,
Push through, and now look where you at.
that's right, that's right.
I wanna bring it all here, and we'll end the segment with this because this is really, really exciting for me, being that I work there. So end game for him right now, not even end game. This is the beginning,
It's
actually.
just
Let's
the
talk, this is just
beginning,
the
baby.
beginning.
It's just the
But
beginning.
how we ended up meeting, he bought out the place that I'm currently working at right now, and he kept me on board, and I'm still part of the active fam. I'm very thankful for that, big guy. But what are your goals and aspirations now? Like, I'm just gonna speak to a couple of things that you did. Like, when he tell you he's disciplined, that's an understatement. Okay. There are things where this man came in and was so gracious about it too, that he saw the gym for what it was. He took me aside and told me what his plans were, which he didn't have to do. I didn't have any stake in the business. I was just working there. Like, I loved it, but I feel like he could tell. He told me what his vision was, told me the things he's gonna change around. And I was like, okay, okay, cool. And outside of him just being jacked and a great energy, I didn't know much about him. So, all right, cool. He said, this is what I'm gonna do. Bet. 4 days later, 4 days, y'all. 4 days. Everything you said was done to a T. So we talk about discipline and a man of character, a man of his word. Again, all those, and then some. But dude, you came in, executed those changes. We've watched the gym grow exponentially. We've watched the place being cleaner than it ever has been. We've watched a culture become created that I don't see, and again, not talking negatively about other places, but I don't see at many other places, let alone gyms. Like, I watch franchisers and other people talk about we are this and we are that, and we look to do this for our people, yet they don't live life that way. It's like,
That's
okay,
right.
you say this, you say that, you're gonna show love to all these people, that your bottom line is about the person, the individual, not the price, not about making money, not about these things. What the reality is, how you treat even the people who work for you don't indicate that that's the case. What you're saying and your actions don't
That's
correlate,
right.
buddy. That's
That's
what women
right.
say about men all
Yeah.
the time. Like,
Right.
what you telling me and the energy you pushing,
Yeah.
what ain't the same,
It's
bro.
not
Like,
the
I'm trying to
same.
tell
That's right.
you.
That's right.
And you were one of the very few where everything just seemed like it aligned. And I've worked for different franchises, not to bash any of them. And I've had some great owners in the past. But what you stand for and how you execute your vision every day line up perfectly.
Bro, this is God's plan. I'm just I'm just trying to stay in alignment with what he has,
Well, man,
man.
talk to me about your vision for the. Let them know where we headed, what you doing, and why active fitness is the place to be. And we'll end it on that note.
All right, all right. That's good. That's good. So when I got active, I mean, it was just a miracle.
Mm,
It was just a miracle. And I was telling Reen just before, it was like a year, 2 years before. I'm like, all right, I think it's time to get a gym.
mm.
And I was trying to rush it. I'm like, I'm gonna find a place. And I bought equipment. Like I got a bunch of equipment still in a storage unit
Crazy.
still today. And because I was, preparing, I love this quote by Les Brown. He says, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one
Mm,
than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Like,
mhm,
greatest quote. And so I was preparing myself. And when I was at the studio, I was preparing myself for leadership and for having a team that I can help build and grow because of the plans.
mm.
I got a 25-year plan all written out and ready to rock. And now it's just all about execution. So when I got active, um, a month before I bought the place, I started working out there and just
Mm.
looking at the place. And like you said, I created the vision and start putting things right into action. But I'm gonna tell you guys something.
Uh-oh.
I spent a month just watching the people who were already working there because I had to determine who I was gonna keep and who was gonna have to leave because I knew how important it was just through research of how important it is to have the right culture when you have a gym. When you have any business,
Right.
you got to build the right culture right out the gate. And Alex, his energy is unbelievable. His personality is fills up a room, and I just thought that was incredible because it reminded me a lot of myself. And then you worked, you were getting things done, and you literally, like, everything that I was doing, you just started doing. I didn't even have to say anything. You just immediately accepted what we were gonna do, and you jumped on board, and you immediately started playing the role that was necessary in order to get things done, and I applaud you for that because not everybody has that, right? Not everybody sees what's coming and takes advantage of it.
Mm.
You know, they might see it, but they're still unsure of themselves in the role that they can play. But you just jumped right into it, and I love that because I was like, this guy knows what's up. This guy, I need this guy on my team.
I appreciate you.
Um, and the love that you show for your clients, I'm like, that's me right there. It's the same guy, yeah, you know, and so it just worked out perfect because one of the things that I said, and I've told you and the rest of the team about this, I want this core team to be the future of active,
Mm.
right? I want to build you guys to be leaders of teams. I want you to lead a group of trainers. And now you're not just training clients, you're training trainers.
Right.
You're building a team yourself. And I want leaders around me. And you all have the right qualities. Is just developing the skills, you know? And so that's part of the kind of core of the gym is the team.
Mm.
I mean, it's one of the most important aspects of the gym because without the team, it's just another gym.
Mm.
And I think most businesses, they don't think about their teams as being the asset that makes the business.
Mm.
Most people think about, oh, the business system. It's
Right.
like, yeah, systems are important.
Right.
But if you don't have the right people executing on those systems, then your business is flawed.
Right.
And so
Point.
my thing is invest in the people, invest in your team, and help them grow as much as possible, regardless of the risk,
Mhm.
right? Because there is a ton of risk as an entrepreneur to build somebody up because there's other opportunities out there.
That's true.
But like I told you guys, I said, I want to make sure that I pay you guys so well that you can't leave because there's no one else that's going to pay you that.
You did say that. How am I supposed to refute that?
And it's
How
on
am
the
I supposed to
record.
refute that?
And it's on the record because I don't want to do this on my own, right? There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't need that,
Right.
right? If it was about money for me, I'd go sell cars or houses, make $250,000 a year, and just chill.
Done with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already in shape. I don't need, I'm doing it because I know that there's a huge opportunity out there to really help people like get in shape and live a healthy lifestyle. And we need this more than ever today. I mean, the statistics are insane of obesity, overweight, heart disease in our country right now. And if we don't act on this and create opportunities for people, then we're going to be in trouble. Right. And I don't want my kids growing up in a world where everybody's sick and dying because they don't have good health.
Right.
So we prioritize health. We value health. It's one of our core values. And I wanted to establish that in active and give people opportunities where they are.
Right.
A lot of gyms, and this is nothing against other gyms because every fitness place plays a huge role in this thing that we have to do, which is get people in shape and get people healthy because our nation is sick. But the gap is the fact that nobody is helping the person who doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Everybody is just like every gym is set up for gym goers. Like if you've gone to the gym for years, you know what to do at the gym.
Right.
But somebody that's coming off the couch who's never worked out before, they didn't play sports in high school, they come into the gym and they're like, I don't even know how the treadmill works,
It's
let
true.
alone these machines. Like
It's
it's
true.
crazy,
So
And
true.
most people are like that.
Right.
I mean, you got a small percentage of people that are actually high school athletes that actually went through school playing sports the whole time.
Mhm.
Most of them are band members in, gymnastics and
Right.
cheerleading, maybe.
Right.
But then again, that's still athletics. I'm sorry, that's not even true.
Mm.
Most people aren't doing anything.
Right.
And so getting people opportunities to come to the gym and learn how to work out
Mhm.
is the gap.
Okay.
We got group fitness places, which are great. Again, they play a role, but they're for people who already work out.
It's true.
You know, you jumping around, you got to be an athlete to start. If not, you're going to get hurt. It's a fact. And we see the numbers, we see the statistics. People are getting hurt all the time
All
during
the
group
time.
fitness because they're not getting the proper instruction on how to perform these exercises properly. Because as much as we think exercise is natural, it's not, right? It's just not a thing. So it's really about educating people and teaching them how to exercise, how to use the gym equipment. That's one of our primary focuses is we need to educate the average person on how to exercise properly because this is the thing. They can watch on social media all day.
Mhm.
They can watch YouTube all day. But think about how many clients we have doing exercises and they're like, I've been doing this for years and I've never felt this.
Never. So many.
It's like every time, every person that I've trained, even people who've trained for years, they're like, I didn't know I was supposed to hit that muscle. You're like, what were you doing? You're just moving weight around.
Right.
That's okay. But we want to train with efficiency and properly so that we can avoid injury. You know, that's
Mhm.
the most important part about exercises so you don't get hurt, you know? And I think a lot of gyms, they just give people a membership. And the most important thing is that they pay their membership subscription.
Mm.
Most important thing for me, for our clients and our members, is that they're actually exercising and they're doing it right.
Right.
I don't want a gym full of people that don't show up. I want to create a community of healthy people that know how to exercise correctly, that aren't there just to, get a quick pump, but there to take care of themselves, talk to some others, build friendships and relationships. And that's what I think we've been doing. I
Right.
mean, over this past 6 months, the gym has grown pretty exponentially. I
Mhm.
mean, 127% when I looked at the numbers from last year to this year.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's wonderful.
And this is just 6 months in. In a year from now, everybody's going to know that active fitness is here. And they're going to wish that they did something different,
Right.
that they provided for the average person. See, if there's 27% of people that are exercising, let's say, and the statistics are kind of weird because, you know, you define exercise as walking daily. Like, come on, that's not working out. But let's just say 27%, right? I want to make that number 30%,
Mm.
35%. I'm just trying to increase the size of the pot of the amount of people that are exercising,
I got you.
right? That's the most important thing. But how do we do that? We got to teach them how to exercise
Right.
because everybody comes in January and they don't know what they're doing. So they get on the treadmill, they wear their treadmills out, right? And then they leave February, March.
Right.
That's why we created the introduction program because we're like, how about we capture these people, teach them how to exercise so maybe we can keep them till June
Mm.
because now they know how to exercise,
Right.
right?
It's a matter of
And it
time.
encourages them to come back because they're familiar with how to use the equipment
They got people that actually care about
and they have people who care about them. But we have a whole system now.
them. Right.
We got nutrition, we've got stretch and mobility, we've got massage and classes.
Right.
So we have the opportunity to do something that nobody else in this area is doing,
It's true.
right? And that's the thing that I want to really hone in on is, hey, we got to get people in shape, but we also need them to know that these other things are super important because if your nutrition isn't dialed in, you can work out all you want. You eat like crap.
Right. You
You're
get
not
the
eating the
results
right
you need.
proportions. You're not going to get results.
Period.
So that's why I think Heather being on the team is so important. You know, stretching. We all need to stretch. Trust me. And if we're not doing it ourselves, having Chaz give you an assisted stretch is super beneficial
Right.
because I noticed that when people first start working out, they get really tight because their
Mhm.
muscles aren't used to it.
Mm-mm.
That's why I give them the first free stretch, because I'm like, you're going to need this,
Right.
right? And they feel so good after. They're like, let me just do a
Let
couple.
me go
Let me
on back. Let me
just
go on
buy a
back.
couple of those. Right?
I think I can speak for all those big guys when we say that we're all thankful for the opportunity you've given us and appreciative of the fact that you've given us a chance to make an impact on not even just the immediate community, but people abroad, man. Like
Yeah.
genuinely, when they see this, when they get a chance to step in that facility, They feel it and they
They
know.
do.
So I want to say this, and we're gonna end it with this, man. Whatever individual walks through those doors of yours is tied to active fitness, is tied to Devon Holland, is tied to your name, your entity, your character as a person. When they walk back out those doors, what do you want them to say about your business, about active? What should they say? What should they walk away with?
I think one of the biggest things that I hope people say is that that's a place where people care. That's a place where people are serious about helping people transform. That's a place where people are serious about getting people in shape, right? Like, I want people to hate to have to move. Like, oh man, I gotta move. I'm never gonna find a gym like this.
Right.
I'm never gonna find another community that's this tight, you know?
Right.
Like that's one big thing for me because I see, like I was talking about the gap in the market.
Mm-hmm.
People are looking for community. That's why they do group fitness.
Right.
Because there's a great community there. But they don't provide everything that a person needs when they're first starting their fitness journey.
That's true.
Right? This is why CrossFit was so popular
Mm.
because they had such a strong community. You know, we do CrossFit. You know what I mean? Because they had such a strong community. And I think gyms lack that, right? And so that's one of the things that I want to bring to the gym industry is, hey, we got to bring community back to the gym because it is the best place to grow, right? There's many places you can grow, but this is a safe environment where we can put you through strenuous activities to help you grow physically and help improve your character because it goes both ways. There ain't nothing like doing heavy squats. Change your whole personality.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. So I love
Straight
that
up.
exercise
Hardest
so
thing you'll
much.
ever do.
Yeah.
Heavy squats.
Yeah, boy. Have you questioned your will to live? Man. Y'all heard that, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we strive to be, and that's what he embodies, and that's what the business embodies. Looking for a genuine place to get in shape where people care about you, your family, and everything that you're about, a community. You know where to find us.
You know where to find us. Oh, before we shut it down, I got you a gift.
Oh, nah, man.
Hold on.
Oh, my goodness.
For you, my guy.
I appreciate you. You want me to open it on
coming
camera?
through? Definitely.
Oh, bro.
We had a team event yesterday. We were at Top Golf, and you know, I just appreciate my team coming through. There's something else in there. That's just a little something. That ain't nothing.
Dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Hold
on.
up.
Check it out.
Hold on.
I forgot your size.
Talk to me.
Talk to you.
Y'all want to work for him now, don't you? Y'all want to work with us now, don't you? Be a part of the fam.
That's right. That's that logo I sent you.
This is dope, big guy.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get him right.
Oh, I'm wearing this next.
Yeah, man.
You gonna
now? Your arm's so big.
I thought, all right.
I thought you were a large. I'm not 100% sure.
Here you go. Yes, that will
he'd
fit.
Be out here flexing.
That will fit. Nah,
I wanted to make sure the sleeves fit right.
I'll leave that all to you, baby. Thank you so much, big guy.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. Thank you too, Miss Reed.
Appreciate you, man.
Y'all enjoy.
Hey, let's get it.